All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call our Ways and Means Committee meeting to order. This is a meeting of our full committee. As you all know, we do our work at the subcommittee level. And this afternoon, we have 5 measures to consider before the full committee. I'm going to ask each of the authors just to give a brief comment on each bill, and then the committee will consider them. We're not typically taking testimony at full committee. That'll be done at the subcommittee level, and was on each of these bills. I'll start first with Chairman Powell. It's House Resolution 164, LC 431024. And Chairman Powell, what is your number over there, sir? 24. You're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a constitutional amendment that has been introduced at least once and maybe twice, and has passed the House and has languished in the Senate. But we are going to try it one more time. But it is a good government transparency matter that provides truth in government. We now can, under the Constitution, designate fees for a particular purpose, and if it's done statutorily, that is not binding upon the legislature, and it can be used for any purpose that the legislature chooses. The only exception to that is if it is dedicated in the Constitution. So you've got the extremes of either constitutional designation, or which is totally effective, or statutory designation, which is totally ineffective. And this actually provides a middle ground because it amends the Constitution that gives specific authority to the legislature to designate fees for a particular purpose. But it requires some additional safeguards. It requires that the constitutional amendment be referred to, that any designation is done pursuant to the Constitution and whatever provision that may be. And it also requires that any dedicated fee bill have a 10-year or less sunset, that it requires supermajority in order to pass the legislature, that it can be suspended in times of financial emergency, sort of like the Great Recession, and that the legislature can repeal it upon a majority vote. And it is restricted to no more than 1% of the budgeted revenues of the state. So for instance, if this year's budget is $27 billion, the maximum that could be designated under the code would be $270 million.
I'll remind members of the committee, as well as those in the audience, that the agenda, the bills, any fiscal notes, letters of support, and so forth are available online. You can view them right now at the Ways and Means website. Just click the agendas on the lower right-hand corner, and you'll be able to pull up that information if you choose. Do any members of the committee have any question or comment with regard to House Resolution 164? Seeing no questions or comments, we got a motion by Whip Kelly. Is there a second? There's a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the bill moves to rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will see to it that it's presented in rules.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, I may have misunderstood the whip. He just said his motion was to table. And Patty seconded. So. Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
I may get the whip an appointment with Patty Bentley because he's going to need her.
All right, we're now going to move on to House Bill 85, authored by Chairman Penny Houston. And again, that bill and information is available online. Chairman Houston is number 11, and this is House Bill 85.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you today House Bill 85, 85 provides a sale and use tax exemption for nonprofit organ procurement organizations in Georgia. LifeLink in Georgia is a federally funded designated organ procurement organization, and it works closely with the hospitals, medical examiners, coroners, Division of Driver Safety, and the public to save lives through organ and tissue donations and transparencies. This sales tax roughly would be an exemption from roughly 114,000 at the low to the high of 171,000 in year 2021.
Any members of the committee have question or comment with regard to House Bill 85?
And one other question, one thing I wanted to add to, this is an exemption for the medical supplies only. That's probably the reason. Y'all just aren't used to medical exemption, tax exemptions this low, I know, so you wonder that's 1,000, not million.
Any questions or comments with regard to House Bill 85? Members of the committee? Representative Bentley.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Houston, yes, LifeLink works with mortuaries as well, so I'm in support of your legislation and would like to continue to work with you on this in the future to make sure that as they are moving forward that they are that is recognized that they do work with mortuaries as well.
Thank you, and I hope we can also work to get more organ donors in Georgia.
Mm-hmm. We will. Thank you.
Any other question or comment? Seeing none, is there a motion with regard to House Bill 85? Have a motion seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, you're on to rules. We'll now move to House Bill 35, LC 431110, by Chairman Sam Watson. And number 14, there
Yes.
we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I do bring before you HB 35. This is creating a sales tax exemption for the poultry diagnostic lab that is administratively attached to the Georgia Department of Agriculture and has currently been paying sales tax. So we're going to exempt them. It passed this body last year by 161 to 2, and I think it'll do the same this time. So appreciate your support.
24. Chairman Powell.
Isn't it true that the funding for the poultry lab comes from the state of Georgia?
Yes.
And so even though we are giving them an exemption, we're basically giving ourselves an exemption.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other members of the committee have questions or comments with regard to House Bill 35? I have a motion by Representative Buckner to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And you, sir, are also on the rules. If you'll indulge me, I'll take care of the last two. House Bill 182, LC 431174, lowers the threshold for online sales. This responds to a U.S. Supreme Court case known as the Wayfair decision. We passed House Bill 61 last year establishing an online sales tax for out-of-state vendors. This lowers that threshold to $100,000 and eliminates the requirement for certain vendors to mail a tax notification to purchasers. Any questions? A motion by Chairman Stevens. Is there a second? Any? All those in favor of House Bill 182, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it's on the rules too. I may struggle in that committee, but we'll see. The final item, House Bill 183, is LC 431177. This is an ad valorem tax issue that provides that the taxpayer maintains the right to appeal their property tax if they fail to file the return. The law states that between January 1 and April 1, property taxpayers have a right to return their property value, and it further states if they fail to do so, the prior year's value will be accepted as if they had filed that return. This just preserves that right of the taxpayer to file an appeal. That's House Bill 183. Are there any questions on that one? Comments? If not, is there a motion with regard to House Bill 183? And is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And it is also under rules. We are adjourned at Ways and Means. Thank you.